in the misty highlands of the Virunga Sanctuary. Nestled between the volcanic peaks of Rwanda and the dense jungles that whispered ancient secrets, lived a troop of mountain gorillas known as the Mistwalkers. Their silverback leader, a massive figure named Thorn, ruled with a quiet strength that belied his scarred hide and wise amber eyes. Among them was Zara, a mid-ranking female whose nurturing spirit had earned her the respect of the troop. Her fur was a deep ebony, streaked with the silver of maturity, and her gaze held the depth of the forest itself. Zara's greatest joy was her infant son, Kibo, born under a canopy of stars 3 moons after a rare bloom of wildflowers. Kibo was small but spirited, his tiny fists clutching at his mother's chest as if the world beyond her arms was too vast to comprehend. He would coo soft grunts into her ear. She would respond with a rhythmic hum-3, short rumbles followed by a long, soothing exhale. It was their private song, a lullaby passed from her own mother, a bond woven into their very breaths. But peace in the Virungas was fragile. One fateful rainy season, a shadow fell over the troop. It started with a cough, faint at first, from an elder female named Leela, the zookeeper's dedicated guardians of the sanctuary, led by Dr. Alina Vasquez. A primatologist with a heart as wild as the gorillas she protected noted it in their logs. Possible respiratory issue, Alina wrote, her pen scratching against the damp paper. But within days, the cough spread like fire through dry grass. Thorn grew lethargic, his mighty roars reduced to wheezes. Young ones like Kibo were most at risk, their immune systems untested against this intruder, a virus likely carried by human poachers skirting the borders. Alina and her team agonized over the decision. The sanctuary, a sprawling network of enclosures mimicking the wild, allowed for controlled interactions but demanded swift action in crises. "We have to isolate the infants," Alina said in the dim light of the observation hut, her voice steady but her eyes betraying fear. Her assistant Marcus, a young biologist fresh from university, nodded grimly. "If we don't, we could lose the whole troop." Kibo was the first to be taken. As the rain pounded the earth, keepers in protective suits approached Zara's nesta, shallow depression of woven bamboo and ferns. Hidden under a massive fig tree, Zara sensed the danger immediately. Her body tensed, her arms wrapping tighter around Kibo as he nursed. Thorn, weakened but vigilant, let out a warning grunt from his perch nearby. But the humans were gentle, their voices soft. "It's for his safety," Zara Alina whispered. Though she knew the gorilla couldn't understand the words, only the tone, the separation was swift but heart-wrenching. Zara's eyes widened in panic as they lifted Kibo from her grasp. He let out a piercing squeal, his tiny hands signing instinctively a clumsy wave that mimicked mama, though no one had taught him yet. Zara lunged forward, her massive frame colliding with the netting, but the keepers had already retreated. Kibo was whisked to a quarantine enclosure on the other side of the sanctuary, a sterile space with artificial trees and constant monitoring. That night, the forest echoed with Zara's mournful howls. She refused food, pacing the perimeter of her enclosure, her fingers tracing the fence as if searching for a weakness. Thorn approached, offering a gentle groom, but she shrugged him off, retreating to the nest. There, she curled around the empty space where Kibo had been, her hum broken and solitary. In the quarantine, Kibo cried for hours, his small body shivering despite the warmth. Marcus sat outside the glass, singing softly to calm him, a human lullaby that paled in comparison to Zara's rhythm. "You're safe, little one," he murmured. But Kibo only stared at the wall, tapping his fingers in that same instinctive sign, "Mama." The illness raged for weeks. 2 elders succumbed, their bodies respectfully buried in the sanctuary's memorial grove. Thorn recovered slowly, his dominance unchallenged, but his spirit dimmed. Zara, however, changed profoundly. Once the troop's mediator, resolving squabbles with calm authority, she became reclusive. She guarded the nest fiercely, scattering any straw another female dared add. Her eyes, once bright with curiosity, dulled to a haunted gaze. She would sit for hours, humming the lullaby to herself, as if willing Kibo to hear it across the divide. Kibo, under round-the-clock care, grew stronger physically, but carried an invisible wound. He learned basic signs from the trainer's food. play safe, but his favorite was home, which he signed while staring at the distant mountains. Marcus noted in his journal, "He's playful, but there's a sadness, like he's waiting." Months turned to years. The sanctuary expanded, new enclosures built with funding from international donors. Alina published papers on gorilla resilience, but privately, she worried about the emotional toll. "Gorillas aren't just animals," she told Marcus one evening over coffee. "They feel loss like we do. Reunion might heal them more, break them further." 3 years passed. Kibo was no longer an infant but a juvenile, muscular and inquisitive, with a mischievous glint in his eye. He had bonded with other young gorillas in his enclosure, but at night he would climb to the highest platform and gaze toward the main troop's habitat, signing Mama into the darkness. Zara had aged, her silver streaks more pronounced, but her protectiveness never waned. She allowed no one near the old nest, sleeping beside it like a sentinel. The troop adapted around her, Thorn offering silent companionship. But the humans knew the time for reunion was approaching. As the 3rd anniversary of the separation loomed, Alina convened the team in the sanctuary's conference room. Maps of enclosures covered the table alongside behavioral charts and health reports. "Kibo's clear," she said, pointing to a graph showing his robust immune system. "No trace of the virus. Zara is stable, but her withdrawal is concerning." Marcus leaned forward, his face earnest. "We've seen signs of depression in primates before. Reunion could trigger aggression if she's forgotten him." A veteran keeper, an older Rwandan man named Jean, shook his head. "Forgotten? Gorillas remember. My grandfather told stories of troops reuniting after poacher attacks. Bonds like that don't break," the debate raged. Risks were listed: rejection, injury, disruption to the troop. Benefits: emotional healing, social reintegration. Finally, Alina made the call. "We proceed." But with precautions, cameras, tranquilizers ready, phased introduction, preparations began. Kibo was introduced to scents from the main enclosure: straw from Zara's nest, leaves from Thorn's favorite tree. He sniffed them eagerly, his posture shifting from playfulness to alertness. He signed home repeatedly, his fingers precise now after years of training. Zara, too, showed changes. One morning, Jean observed her signing baby while staring at the quarantine direction. It was unprompted, a memory surfacing. "She's ready," he reported. The night before the reunion, the sanctuary buzzed with tension. Alina couldn't sleep, pacing her quarters. She thought of her own son, left with her ex-husband during her fieldwork. "Separation hurts everyone," she whispered to the stars. Marcus, in the observation hut, reviewed footage of Kibo as an infant. The tiny gorilla's grunts matched Zara's lullaby perfectly. They created their own language, he realized. We have to let them speak it again. Dawn broke with a golden haze, the volcano silhouetted against the sky. The team gathered, hearts pounding. Cameras rolled from hidden vantage points. The transition gate, a heavy metal barrier between enclosures, stood ready. Kibo was led into the holding pen first. He paused, sniffing the air. His body stiffened, ears perking. Then, with deliberate motions, he signed Mama, his eyes fixed on the gate. On the other side, Zara emerged from the mist. She moved slowly, her massive frame casting long shadows. Her eyes locked on the barrier, unblinking. The team held their breath. Jean flipped the switch. The gate creaked upward, inch by inch. Kibo flinched, taking a step back. Zara froze, her lip quivering. Time stretched, the air thick with anticipation. Then, Kibo shuffled forward. One foot, then another. Zara didn't move, but her arms twitched slightly. With a soft squeak, Kibo charged, leaping through the opening. Zara exhaled deeply, her arms opening wide. He collided with her chest, and she caught him, pulling him close. The embrace was fierce, unyielding. Seconds turned to minutes. The team watched in silence, tears streaming down faces. Alina whispered, "This isn't just instinct. It's love." The embrace lasted longer than anyone expected. Kibo buried his face in Zara's fur, his body trembling with what could only be relief. Zara rocked gently, her massive hands stroking his back. From the observation deck, Marcus noted the details. No aggression. Immediate acceptance. Vocalizations starting. Kibo broke the silence with soft grunts, 3 short, 1 long. Zara responded in kind, her voice deeper, resonating through the enclosure. It was their lullaby, unchanged after 3 years. The team gasped as Kibo pulled back slightly, signing safe, then mama, then missed. Zara's brow furrowed, and she signed back baby and stay. They touched foreheads, a gesture of profound intimacy. Gene, wiping his eyes, said they remember everything. The signs, the song-its, all there. As the morning progressed, Zara led Kibo to the old nest under the fig tree. It was untouched, a circle of faded straw. Kibo climbed in without hesitation, pressing his chest to the ground. Zara curled beside him, pulling straw over them like a blanket. Other troop members approached curiously. Thorn watched from afar, his grunt approving. A young female, Zara, ventured close, but Zara rumbled a warning. Mine, it seemed to say. The reunion's success spread through the sanctuary. Alina called a meeting. We monitor closely. No interventions unless necessary. But the bond was already deepening. That afternoon, Kibo and Zara performed a ritual hands to chest, mirroring movements, ending with synchronized signs forever. No training had taught this. It was theirs alone. Marcus, fascinated, began documenting. This is groundbreaking. Proof of cultural transmission in guerrillas. Meanwhile, a subplot emerged. Poachers had been spotted near the borders. Alina worried it could threaten the sanctuary, adding tension to the guerrillas' healing. As the sun climbed higher, bathing the Virunga Sanctuary in a warm glow, the initial awe of the reunion began to settle into a rhythm of observation and quiet celebration. Alina Vasquez stood on the observation deck. Her binoculars trained on Zara and Kibo. They had moved from the nest to a patch of sunlight. Where Zara was grooming Kibo meticulously, her fingers parting his fur with the care of a sculptor refining clay, Kibo sat still, his eyes half closed in contentment, occasionally grunting in response to her touches. It's miraculous, Marcus said, joining her with a steaming mug of coffee. 3 years and it's like no time passed at all. Lena nodded, but her expression was thoughtful. Miracles don't happen in isolation. We need to watch the troop dynamics. Thorn's been patient, but reintegrating Kibo could stir things up. Indeed, the Mistwalker's troop was a complex web of alliances and hierarchies. Thorn, the silverback, had sired several young during Zara's grieving period, including a boisterous juvenile named Rocco, who was known for his playful but aggressive challenges. Zara, the young female who had approached earlier, was Thorn's favorite, often groomed by him in displays of favoritism that kept the troop balanced. As if on cue, Rocco lumbered into view, his chest puffed in a mock display. He beat the ground lightly, a common guerrilla invitation to play, but his eyes were fixed on Kibo. Zara tensed immediately, her arm wrapping protectively around her son. Kibo, curious, signed friend. Toward Rocco, but Zara rumbled a low warning, her body language clear. Not yet. Thorn intervened with a deep huff, positioning himself between the juveniles. Rocco backed off, but not without a sidelong glance that hinted at future tensions. Jean, monitoring from a hidden camera feed, chuckled softly. Boys will be boys. Even in the wild, silverbacks managed the drama. But beneath the surface calm, a greater shadow loomed. Reports from the sanctuary's rangers had trickled in over the past weeks. Poachers sighted along the northern border. The Virungas, a UNESCO-protected site, were a battleground between conservationists and illegal hunters seeking gorilla parts for the black market or bushmeat. Alina had increased patrols, but resources were stretched thin. If they breached the fences, she confided in Marcus, it could undo everything we've built. That evening, as the mist rolled in from the volcanoes, Zara and Kibo performed their ritual again. Under the fig tree, they touched foreheads, humming the lullaby in perfect sync. Kibo signed remember, and Zara responded with always. It was a moment of pure connection, but Alina couldn't shake her worry. Their bond is strong, she said, but the world outside isn't. Marcus, ever the optimist, suggested, maybe this reunion will inspire more funding. We could go public with the footage. Carefully, of course. Lena hesitated. Media can help, but it attracts attention. The wrong kind. As night fell, the sanctuary's lights flickered on, casting long shadows. In the distance, a ranger's radio crackled. Movement spotted. Possible intruders. The team sprang into quiet action, unaware that the reunion's fragility was about to be tested. The following days brought a delicate dance of reintegration. Kibo, emboldened by Zara's presence, began exploring the enclosure more freely. He climbed vines with agile grace, his muscles honed from years in quarantine play structures. Zara followed closely, her eyes never leaving him, but she allowed small interactions. One morning, Zara approached again, this time with a branch of fresh leaves as an offering. Zara watched warily, but didn't intervene. Kibo accepted the gift, signing thank you, a sign taught by trainers, but infused with genuine warmth. Zara groomed his arm tentatively, and for the first time, Zara signed friend, her massive hand gesturing toward the young female. Thorn observed from his perch, his silver back gleaming in the sun. He grunted approval, reinforcing the troop's hierarchy. But Rocco was less welcoming. During a group foraging session, as the gorillas scattered fruit peels, Rocco charged playfully at Kibo, knocking him off balance. Kibo tumbled, letting out a startled squeak. Zara was there in an instant, her roar echoing through the habitat a deep, resonant warning that made even Thorn pause. Rocco retreated, but the incident sparked tension. The troop milled about uneasily, vocalizations rising in a chorus of anxiety. Alina, watching via monitors, called the team. This is normal. Sibling rivalry in gorillas can be rough, but it's how they establish bonds. Jean nodded. Zara's protecting her own. Give it time. Marcus, however, delved deeper into research. In the sanctuary's library, surrounded by stacks of primate studies, he pored over cases of separated families. Look at this, he said to Alina, pointing to a paper on chimpanzee reunions. Emotional rituals like theirs reduce stress hormones. It's science backing what we see. Inspired. Marcus proposed a subtle intervention, introducing puzzle feeders that encouraged group problem solving. The first one, a hollow log filled with nuts, drew the juveniles together. Kibo, clever from his quarantine training, figured it out first. Sharing the spoils with Zara, Rocco joined reluctantly, and by day's end, a tentative play session ensued, chasing and tumbling without aggression. Zara watched, her posture relaxing. That night, in the nest, she signed family to Kibo, looping her arm around him. He responded with together, nestling closer. But the human world intruded. The poacher threat escalated when a ranger found cut wires in the outer fence. Alina held an emergency meeting. We need reinforcements. I'll contact the government. Marcus volunteered for night watch. As he patrolled, flashlight in hand, he reflected on his own life. Orphaned young, he'd found purpose in animals. Kibo and Zara remind me, he thought, that family isn't just blood, it's choice. Back in the enclosure, under a moonlit sky, Zara hummed the lullaby. Kibo joined, their voices blending with the night's symphony. The bond was mending, but tests loomed. Flashbacks haunted Zara in quiet moments. As Kibo slept beside her, she stared at the stars, remembering the day of separation. The rain had been relentless, turning the ground to mud. Kibo's cries pierced her heart as the humans took him. She had fought, her fists pounding the earth, but exhaustion claimed her. In quarantine, Kibo's memories were fragments. Zara's scent on a blanket the keepers provided. Her hum echoed in his dreams. He had signed Mama to Marcus once, tears in his eyes. Though gorillas don't cry, his expression was unmistakable. Now reunited, these memories surfaced in rituals. One afternoon, during a light drizzle reminiscent of that fateful day, Zara led Kibo to a stream within the enclosure. She dipped her hand in the water, signing remember. Kibo tilted his head, then mimicked her, splashing gently. They sat there, sharing silent stories. The team captured it on camera. "It's therapy," Elena said. "They're processing trauma." Human subplots deepened. Gene shared his story with Marcus. "I lost my family to poachers years ago. That's why I fight for these gorillas." His voice cracked, forging a bond among the staff. Troop dynamics evolved. Rocco challenged Kibo again, but this time Kibo stood his ground, signing play instead of fleeing. They wrestled, ending in mutual grooming. Thorn approved with a nod. But danger brewed. Poachers, led by a notorious figure named Raoul, planned a raid. Rangers intercepted a message: "Target the sanctuary infant's high value." Lena ramped up security, installing motion sensors. "We protect them like family," she declared. In the enclosure, Zara sensed the unease. Her patrols increased, keeping Kibo close. Their bond, once broken, was now a shield. Tension mounted as poacher activity intensified. Rangers spotted tracks near the fence, snares set for smaller animals, but a sign of encroachment. Alina coordinated with local authorities, but bureaucracy slowed aid. In the sanctuary, the guerrillas reacted to the heightened human presence. Thorn grew restless, beating his chest more frequently. Zara kept Kibo in the nest's safety, their rituals becoming more frequent a coping mechanism. Marcus proposed using the reunion footage to raise awareness. A viral story could bring donors, he argued. Alina agreed, releasing a short clip online. It exploded, millions of views. Headlines like "Gorilla Reunion Proves Love Transcends Species." But fame attracted risks. Raoul saw the video, seeing opportunity. "That kid gorilla valuable," he muttered to his crew. A storm hit, literally a tropical downpour flooding parts of the enclosure. The team evacuated low areas, but during the chaos, a fence weakened. That night, as rain lashed, poachers struck. Alarms blared. Alina grabbed a radio. "Intrusion. North sector." Marcus rushed to the observation hut, heart pounding. On monitors, he saw shadows moving. In the enclosure, Zara awoke to the noise. She gathered Kibo, signing safe. Thorn roared, rallying the troop. The climax built. Humans versus poachers. Gorillas bond as inspiration. Gunshots echoed in the night, warning shots from rangers. Poachers, armed with nets and tranquilizers, breached the outer fence but were met by patrols. Inside, Zara led Kibo to higher ground, the troop following. Thorn positioned himself as guard, his presence deterring any advance. Gene and Marcus joined the fight, armed with flares. "For the gorillas," Gene shouted. A poacher reached the inner enclosure, aiming a dart gun at Kibo. Zara charged, her roar thunderous. The man fled, dropping the gun. Rangers apprehended the group. Raoul captured. The sanctuary was safe. In the aftermath, Zara and Kibo embraced, their lullaby cutting through the rain's remnants. Months later, the sanctuary thrived. Kibo fully integrated, playing with Rocco and Zara. Zara taught him survival skills, their bond unbreakable. The footage became a documentary inspiring global conservation. Alina reflected. "They taught us love's resilience." Marcus promoted, wrote a book. Gene retired peacefully. Zara and Kibo, under the fig tree, signed forever. The forest echoed their peace. As years passed, their story lived on, proving animals feel deeply. Love never forgets. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.